All aboard! Trains have always been the lifeblood of the frontier, and nothing electrifies a Western audience like masked bandits halting a locomotive in its tracks. From silent-era pioneers to modern classics, these 18 films deliver heart-pounding heists that defined a genre. Join us as we journey through dusty rails, gunmetal, and steam to witness cinema's most unforgettable, thrilling train robberies. The Great Train Robbery, 1903. Often cited as the birth of the Western film, Edwin S. Porter's silent short lays the groundwork for every cinematic heist that followed. In under 12 minutes, we meet an outlaw gang led by a mustachioed villain who stops the locomotive, blows open the safe, and menaces passengers at gunpoint, all without a single line of dialogue. Yet it's the visceral thrill of seeing train wheels screech to a halt, the smoke billowing as masked robbers swarm the coach, that cemented this reel as a trailblazer. Audiences in 1903 gasped at the innovative cross-cutting between Robberies and the pursuing posse, techniques that still fuel our breathless editing today. How did such a primitive film capture that enduring excitement? By showing us that, no matter the era, nothing beats outlaw bravado on the rails. Stagecoach, 1939. John Ford's masterpiece elevated the Western to art form, and its train heist sequence is surprisingly brutal. As the camera cuts from the tense faces of frontier travelers to the dust-choked horizon, we sense the Apache threat lurking beyond. But it's the masked bandit who steps onto the tracks that really shocks. He stops the engine with a rifle shot, forces the driver out, and loots the passengers' belongings in broad daylight. What makes this robbery unforgettable isn't just the choreography, but how it fractures the stagecoach's fragile camaraderie. A cripple, a prostitute, and a gambler must choose between self-preservation and solidarity. Ford uses that heist to reveal each character's true colors, so you're left wondering who among us can be trusted when the whistle blows. Union Pacific, 1939. Released the same year as Stagecoach, Cecil B. DeMille's epic delivers spectacle on a grand scale. Trains clang across newly laid tracks as settlers push west, but it's the spectacular night raid that steals the show. Flames erupt when dynamite charges blow open the tender. Masked riders swarm the rails under a brilliant fireball. DeMille stages the robbery as a visual feast. Torchlight flickers on gunmetal, horses rear, steam hisses. And yet he never loses sight of thematic depth. This heist threatens the very promise of manifest destiny. Will the railroad that tethers a nation endure when outlaws strike at its heart? The answer lies in a pulse-pounding finale that still echoes in every big-budget Western stunt today. The Oxbow Incident, 1943. More courtroom drama than action epic, this film surprises with an understated but savage train robbery. As a lynch mob forms over suspected cattle rustlers, a lone outlaw halts the locomotive to make an example of vigilante justice. The slow-burn tension, footsteps echoing on wooden ties, a single rifle shot, underscores the horror of frontier lawlessness. When the posse arrives too late, we're left grappling with questions of morality and mob mentality. Is stopping a train worth the cost of innocent blood? It's a textbook case of how a brief heist scene can elevate a Western from popcorn fare to searing social critique. The Wild Bunch, 1969. Sam Peckinpah redefined genre violence, and his train robbery sequences are poetry in blood. The film opens with the bunch looting a moving train amidst a swirling sandstorm, bodies tumbling, crates exploding. Peckinpah's trademark slow motion captures every bullet rip and grenade blast, turning brutality into balletic tragedy. But this is more than carnage for its own sake. The heist signals the end of the Old West as modern firearms and corrupt businessmen close in. Each shot rings with nostalgia and regret. Once the dust settles, you feel the weight of an era dying. How many films have dared to marry operatic violence with elegiac heartbreak? Few and none as viscerally memorable. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, 1969. Robert Redford and Paul Newman charm their way through gleaming bank hall montages, but it's the train heist in the Bolivian mountains that cements their legend. Disguised in bowler hats and carrying dry cleaning bags, the duo halts the steam engine by pulling the air hose, and then empties the safe with playful banter echoing off the car walls. George Roy Hill frames the robbery like a comic caper, the pair high-five grudgingly as they ride chairlift, pockets bulging with Bolivianos. Yet a melancholy undertone lingers. For these last outlaws, each score tightens the noose of modernity. Will they outrun the telegraph and tracking dogs? The answer comes in a freeze frame that's equal parts triumphant and tragic. The Professionals, 1966. Directed by Richard Brooks, this team heist western reads like Ocean's 11 with 6 guns. Burt Lancaster, Lee Marvin, and Claudia Cardinale assemble into a crack squad hired to rescue a kidnapped wife, and first they need to rob a remote train depot. From booby-trapped cars to fisticuffs on the roof in the desert sun, each set piece crackles with tension. But here's the twist. These mercenaries always question the morality of their employer, adding shades of gray to their righteous violence. When the final charge blows the safe, you're left at the edge of your seat. Can bullets ever buy justice, or only more blood? Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. Sergio Leone's operatic magnum opus finally pays off its endless close-ups with an extraordinary train scene. After a tense standoff at Sweetwater Station, Jill McBain gazes down the tracks as a train laden with water barrels hisses to a stop. Harmonica's haunting theme swells, and, without warning, the locomotive becomes a weapon. Steam scalds, water explodes, and masked men pour out like ghosts. Leone's patient build, snow-white rifles, the drip of water, makes the ensuing carnage all the more shocking. This robbery isn't about riches. It's a trap set by a golden-booted tycoon, symbolizing how technology and greed crush the rancher's way of life. Rio Bravo, 1959. Howard Hawks's classic is more jailhouse drama than train raid epic, but it still features an early morning heist that sets the stakes. John T. Chance faces a sheriff's posse distracted by a hooded rider who halts the inbound mail train and steals the county's payoff money. The simple ploy, masked outlaw, single shotgun blast, whistle, drowned in panic, underscores Hawks's mastery of group dynamics. As Chance scrambles to defend the jail, you feel every tense heartbeat. It's a reminder that even the smallest robbery can upend a town and test a community's resolve. Jesse James, 1939. Henry Fonda's breakthrough role as America's most infamous outlaw unfolds in a nail-biting train holdup that blends folklore with early sound era flair. Director Henry King stages the heist at dusk. Masked raiders weave through flickering lantern light as the locomotive slows on a remote stretch of track. You feel the warm hiss of steam mixing with the rustle of prairie grass. Fonda's James exudes a casual menace. One glance, and you know he's already decided who lives and who pays at the barrel of his Colt .45. But it's not just the robbery's choreography that grips you, it's the moral paradox at its heart. Audiences of 1939 cheered James as a Robin Hood figure, yet left unsettled by the violence they witnessed. How could one menacing bullet inspire both admiration and revulsion? This tension between myth and reality cemented Jesse James as a template for every charismatic anti-hero we've worshipped ever since. The Return of Frank James, 1940. Picking up where Jesse James left off, this sequel rides into the twilight of the West with an even more elaborate train caper. Frank James orchestrates a daylight assault on a Union Pacific mail train, complete with dynamite wedged beneath the rails. Power's lanky frame contrasts the explosion's brilliance. Newspapers catch fire in slow motion. Gold coins scatter like oversized raindrops. Director Fritz Lang uses tight close-ups on Frank's haunted eyes to remind us that outlaw life exacts a toll. His brothers are dead, his legend stained. As the posse closes in, the ticking fuse becomes a metaphor for Frank's own desperation. Will he escape the law's relentless pursuit, or will the next blast be his last? The film's daring special effects and moral undercurrents make this robbery more than spectacle. It's a requiem for the fading outlaw era. Colorado Territory, 1949. Adapted from High Sierra, Raoul Walsh's Western transplant relocates Humphrey Bogart's hardened gangster to a Rocky Mountain train heist. In broad daylight, a bullet cracks the engineer's windshield, sending the locomotive careening around a bend. Bogart's Rocky Graham doesn't simply rob the car, he stages a cinematic ballet of violence. Hats fly, carriage doors slam, and a heist gone awry leaves the audience breathless. But beneath the adrenaline lies a character study. Graham's cool professionalism masks a man yearning for redemption. As the posse picks apart his plan, you wonder, can an outlaw ever outsmart his own mythos? Colorado Territory reminds us that even a cinematic pioneer like Walsh knew the power of a well-timed train stunt to reveal the soul of its antihero. Carson City, 1952. Randolph Scott anchors this brisk Western about a railroad tycoon defending his empire from daring outlaws. The jewel of the film is a moonlit raid on a gold-laden flat car. The thieves strike with military precision. One holds a lantern to the safe's lock, while another uses a saw to breach the steel door. Sparks fly in choreographed bursts. Director Andre de Toth peppers the sequence with quick pans across worried faces inside the engineer's cab, building tension as the clock ticks toward discovery. Then, in a sudden pivot, the thieves' horses bolt, adding chaos that sends gold bars clattering across the tracks. It's the unpredictable turn that still rings true. No plan survives first contact with a spooked stallion. Carson City uses that moment of disorder to underscore the thin line between control and chaos in the Wild West. The Far Country, 1954. James Stewart and Walter Pidgeon ride into the Yukon Territory chasing gold and inadvertently stumbling into a heist that redefines frontier lawlessness. In one of the film's climactic scenes, masked bandits halt a water supply train, dynamiting its barrels to flood the tracks and strand settlers. Stewart rushes through torrents of icy water as villagers scramble to shore. LeMay's cinematography captures every spray of frigid foam, every scream of panicked horses. But this isn't just a stunt. The robbery threatens the entire settlement's survival. When Stewart rallies the townsfolk to reclaim the train, you feel the pulse of communal resilience. That blending of human drama with explosive action cements the Far Country as a blueprint for westerns that balance spectacle and heart. The Train Robbers, 1973. John Wayne's later career finds him chasing outlaws in this homage to classic heist westerns. Tasked with recovering a gold shipment stolen by renegade Confederate soldiers, Wayne's Major Hotchkiss assembles a rough-and-ready crew. Their plan: intercept a moving locomotive by lassoing its smokestack. Director Burt Kennedy stages the sequence with affectionate nods to early cinema. Slow-motion leaps, wooden trestles shaking under galloping hooves, and Wayne's steely gaze framed like a portrait in motion. Yet behind the bravado lies a meditation on aging heroes confronting a changing world. As wagon drivers argue over strategy, you glimpse the era's uncertain frontier spirit. The Train Robbers may wear its nostalgia on its sleeve, but its adrenaline-fueled robbery reminds us why we fell in love with westerns in the first place. Silverado, 1985. Lawrence Kasdan's Ensemble. Western revives 80s blockbuster Polish while honoring classic tropes, none more so than its nighttime train raid. Kevin Kline's Emmett Ritter and Comer creep alongside a moonlit locomotive, silently using crowbars on the safe. The sequence pivots from hushed tension to chaotic gunfire when corrupt lawmen ambush the outlaws, turning the rails into a battlefield. Kasdan intercuts shots of flying bullets with close-ups of Ritter's determined smirk, reminding us that even in a modern pastiche, the train heist remains the ultimate test of a Western hero's mettle. The film's youthful energy and lavish production design give this robbery a fresh shine, proof that great set pieces never go out of style. Alias Jesse James, 1959. In this zany comedy directed by Norman Z. MacLeod, Bob Hope plays a mild-mannered doppelganger enlisted to impersonate the infamous outlaw. The result is a train robbery sequence as much slapstick as suspense. Hope's bumbling Jesse ducks behind barrels while actual bandits spill sacks of loot, including a priceless diamond, right into his arms. Rapid-fire gags collide with genuine stunts, a runaway boxcar, a frantic leap onto the tender, and one precarious brim-tipping slow-motion shot that keeps you laughing and cheering. Behind the humor lies a sly commentary on legend-making, that sometimes the man behind the mask matters less than the myth he embodies. By the time the townsfolk scramble for the missing gold, you've witnessed a heist that's as elegant as it is ruthless, an apt finale to our exploration of Western cinema's most show-stopping railroad gambits. These 18 Westerns prove that when rails run hot and outlaws close in, the magic of cinema ignites. Whether it's silent-era groundwork or modern homages, each heist rides on adrenaline, legacy, and the timeless allure of lawlessness on the rails.